God Septa Mordane was strong. She is such a minor character but she was impactful. I love the parallels between Sirio Farrell fighting with a wooden sword telling Arya to run, and the Septa staring down the guards, telling Sansa to run. Two characters that are very strong in different ways, facing their deaths and using whatever means they have to protect both kids. I loved it. When it was good, this show was really good /. I also really like how this exhibits the difference between the Lannisters and the Starks. When Tywin died, all the loyalty and power his house had evaporated. But Ned inspired such loyalty that people like Septa Mordane and Syrio gave their lives for the house. What was the Jedi plan at Geonosis? Honestly, it kind of feels like their plan was just we have a ton of Jedi show up all at once and I'm sure everything will sort itself out from there. Storm the stage, rescue the prisoners, seize the Separatist leadership. Everyone gives up, Clone Wars over in like 20 minutes. It's a great plan so long as it goes absolutely flawlessly, none of the Separatist leadership escapes and no one decides to use the giant army of killer robots regardless of the risk to the Jedi's hostages. In If 2024, Brad Pitt is credited as Keith, an invisible character with no lines. A subtle reference to his character in Deadpool 2. It would be fantastic if it became a running joke for Brad Pitt to be credited with as many invisible characters with no lines as possible. Also, the introducing is another joke in itself. A fake it's used when actors are making their debut in film or TV as they aren't a well-known name. They did a similar joke for Rob Lowe in Parks and Recreation. Bethesda Game Studios workers have unionized. Bethesda before the acquisition already had one of the highest retention rates in entire industry. They're doing this because of Microsoft, no doubt. Good for them. It's a shame this didn't happen sooner. GI Robot finally gets to kill some Nazis. Creature Commandos. He killed Nazis is what he did. He was a great American veteran. And in this house, GI Robot is a hero. End of story. Cheers to the Tin Man. It's time for a return to when there were a constant stream of shows and movies about colorful characters gleefully killing Nazis. A line that gets me every rewatch. David, you are on with the entire office. Yeah, I'm glad you called. Ryan is being a little bitch again. A compilation of WWE facts that sound fake, but are true. Mick Foley retired at age 34. Will once again say Sid had 2 WrestleMania matches. But they were both main events. Jenna and Angela with Timothy Olyphant. Timothy Olyphant looks like a 55-year-old lesbian. Halper, you looking for someone to bang your wife? Shebut is coming back. Somehow Shebut returned. GIF. Say what you want about the Kettlemans, but they had the only relationship that survived throughout the BB/BCS universe. True ride or dies. That's the Kettle team. Hank and Marie lasted until death did them part. That's because Craig was like her pet. The way Kettlewoman firmly holds Kettleman's hand and mouths the words he says to Jimmy in S1 is one of my favorite pieces of acting. Shows so much in such a little gesture. In Penguins of Madagascar, 2014, the aspect ratio changes to widescreen in some scenes to give a faux cinematic feel. But occasionally the image pops out of this aspect ratio. You used to see this a lot in commercials for 3D movies, like Life of Pi. You've discovered a theatrical 3D element that no longer functions because the home market chose 4K over gimmicky 3D. In Sonic the Hedgehog 3, 2024, Shadows, Keanu Reeves, backhand block is a nod to Neos, also Keanu Reeves, fighting style in the Matrix movies. I also heard Robotnik say Via con Dios to Shadow. Nod to Point Break. The people involved in making these movies are absolutely on top of references, nods, paying homage, etc. Just another reason why I enjoy them. Better Call Saul ends 6-season run with 0 Emmy wins. When you remember that the Emmys are the same bunch of clowns who gave Most Outstanding Drama to Season 8 of Game of Thrones, at the direct expense of Better Call Saul that year, no less, then it all makes sense. They are not serious people. Just looked at the wiki page. How Michael McKean didn't get even nominated for supporting actor is wild. Jonathan Banks is nominated several times but I don't think that role lends itself to winning, less dramatic, more subdued. It's 2025. I watched the Star Wars movies for the first time. Here's what I thought. Spoilers. Reading a true blind review of the story without any biases or outside information was really interesting and illuminating. Thanks for posting. That's a valid point for Anakin's turn to the dark side, honestly. Many people feel the same way, but there's a TV show called The Clone Wars, 2008, that adds more depth to his turn and gives more reasons for why he begins to distrust and even begin to resent the Jedi. I enjoyed this. It reminded me of someone else's chronological first watch, including the animated series, and the death of Obi-Wan hit them really hard. As a kid in the theater in 1977, the death of the mentor we barely knew so the farm boy could succeed didn't seem particularly shocking or emotional. I didn't know what a trope was at the time but could feel one when I first saw it. Yes, R2 is the star. Books, a book in which horrible things happen to people for no reason, how a little life went from universally beloved to widely loathed. The lit world in joke of calling it a little much is all I can think about when I see that cover. Having not read this book, all I can think based on that summary of Jude's childhood is how darkly comic that series of situations is. From pedo priests to pedo traffickers to pedo orphanage to pedo psychiatrist. I mean, what are the chances? Do they all share a book club? Like and subscribe.